Books, books. I like books. I'm gonna read them all.
Hi readers, Chris here. Welcome to my channel where I review fantasy, Stephen King, all sorts of books, and today I'm going to be doing the mid-year freak out tag. Yes, I'm a little behind, but I'm just coming back from vacation, and guess what? Upon returning, my ring light is busted, so I'm gonna have to order a new one. I've put as much light on my face as possible. I don't know if it's gonna help, but we'll see what happens. So yes, everyone's already done this tag, and technically it's already past the half-year mark, but that's okay. I still wanted to do it because I thought it would be really fun, so let's jump right in. Prompt number 1 is best book you've read so far this year. A doozy. I immediately thought of one book that I wanted to use, but as I was going through the list, I realized this one book could be used for many different answers. So because I didn't want to use the same book over and over again, the book that I'm picking for this one is going to be Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies by Heather Fawcett. This was recommended to me by Nicole at Nicole's Bookish Nook. And yeah, I really love this book. It's everything that I want in a fantasy. It's fantastical. It's a bit dark at times. It's got fantasy. It's got a super cool magical dog in it. I mean, I could go on and on. If you've read this book, you know it's amazing. I still need to read the sequel, but yeah. This is definitely going to be on my top 10 by the time we get to the end of the year. Prompt number 2 is best sequel you've read so far this year, and that is going to be Crooked Kingdom by Leigh Bardugo. I don't know why it took me so long to read this book because I read Six of Crows last year in 2023. I absolutely loved it. And guess what? I absolutely love this one too. It's kind of a tie between this one and Emily Wilde for best book of the year, but it's definitely the best sequel, and I'm probably going to mention this book at least one more time on this list. Prompt number 3 is a new release that has come out this year that you haven't read yet, and this is going to be another Leigh Bardugo. It's The Familiar. Yes. This just came out a couple months ago. I've been dying to read it. I actually hadn't picked up a copy, but I finally picked one up a few weeks ago. So this is definitely on my list. I want to read it this year. I want to read it as soon as possible, as soon as I have time. But I feel like, based on what this book is about, that it'll be a good, fall, autumn read. So expect this to be on my TBR during one of those months. Prompt number 4 is most anticipated release for the second half of the year, and that is going to be The Fury of the Gods by John Gwynne. I hope I'm saying the right title. I'll put a little picture up of the book. It is available for pre-order on Amazon. This is the 3rd book in John Gwynne's Bloodsworn series. It's a grim, dark fantasy. I've been buddy reading it with David over at David's Book Reviews. I haven't asked him yet, but David, I hope you want to buddy read the 3rd book with me. It comes out in October or November, I forget. I looked at that just before this video, and now I forgot, but it's somewhere around there. I've been loving this series. I'm really excited for this 3rd one to come out. So yeah, definitely The Fury of the Gods. Prompt number 5 is biggest disappointment of the year so far, and that is going to be Shatter Me by Tahereh Mafi. Now, it's not so much that this book is, bad, quote unquote, but I found it disappointing because I know that this series, the Shatter Me series, is a beloved series. There's a ton of books. They're super popular. So I went into this with very high expectations. And unfortunately, the book just didn't meet my expectations. So maybe that's a me problem. Maybe that's a book problem. Maybe it's a combination of both. But at the end of the day, I was left feeling disappointed, and I'm going to have a hard time continuing with the series, even though I have been told that it gets better. Prompt number 6 is, what is the biggest surprise of the year so far? And for me, that is definitely Bride by Ali Hazelwood. This is a supernatural romance, and Ali Hazelwood is known for writing romance, and I am not the biggest romance reader. Like, I usually don't read just like straight romance. But because this is a supernatural romance, I was like, okay, I'll give this one a try. I ended up really liking this book, like really liking it. Not only is it a supernatural romance, but there's a murder mystery involved. There's a ton of awesome side characters, like there's mysteries with the side characters, there's a missing person, there's just so much going on in this book, and I absolutely loved it. I loved the romance, I loved the supernatural stuff, I loved the interspecies politics between the vampires and the werewolves. I just loved so much about this book, and I loved the main character. I really loved this book. I am surprised by how much I loved this book. It makes me want to read other Ali Hazelwood books, even though they're strictly romance. Like, that's how much I love this one. I would be surprised if this doesn't end up on my top 10 for the year. It's not going to be like number 1 or anything like that, but I think it definitely deserves a spot on that list. Prompt number 7 is favorite new author, and some of you may remember I have been challenging myself to read at least one new author every month, and I have been doing that. So I have read a lot of new authors this year. My favorite so far, though, I think, is going to be Alex E. Harrow. Alex E. Harrow. This is the first Alex E. Harrow book that I have read, Starling House. I know she has other books out there, and honestly, again, I liked this book so much that I definitely want to go out and read her other books. This has encouraged me to read her other books. And I have at least one, I think it's the 10,000 Doors of January, that I've had for so long, never read it, but after reading this, I definitely want to. So I'm not saying she's a new all-time favorite author, but so far in this year, 2024, she is my new favorite author of this year. Prompt number 8 is newest fictional crush. Now, I'm not one of those people that usually gets like, quote unquote, crushes on fictional characters. Like, I'll say I want to give a character a hug or something like that. So I really didn't know how to answer this one. So I'm going to say that my newest fictional crush is going to be this character, Foxy, from the Twisted Ones. If you've read the Twisted Ones, you'll know who Foxy is. Bad from Bad is Rad. She recommended this to me. But basically, Foxy is the neighbor of this young girl. So, long story short, young girl has to basically clean up her dead grandmother's house. All the spooky stuff starts happening. And this neighbor, this woman named Foxy, ends up helping her. But Foxy is just awesome. She helps our main character, like, no questions asked, no problem. She's the epitome of Southern hospitality, but she's also, like, got this really super cool, like, unique vibe about her. She's, like, a little bit hippie, a little bit goth. So, yeah, I'm going to say Foxy is my fictional crush right now because she is awesome. Prompt number 9 is newest favorite character. And yes, I could have picked Foxy for this question as well. But in order to pick a different one, I am picking Isadora from Court. So Court is the 4th book, I believe, in the Crave series, which is basically kind of an updated version of Twilight. You know, young girl falls in love with a vampire, shenanigans ensue. There is a new character in this book named Isadora. She is the sister of some very important characters in this book. I'm going to try to be vague here. But she is this badass vampire who I absolutely love. She is so badass. She is so snarky. She's evil, but like kind of turns into a bit of an anti-hero by the end. Like, she's just a fabulous, fantastic character. Love her, love her, love her to death, and I can't wait to see what she does next in this series. Prompt number 10 is book that made you cry. And yes, I'm going back to Crooked Kingdom again because legit, this is the only book that has gotten me teary this year. It's the only one so far that has made me emotional, mostly because of the ending. This book gave me so many emotions. It was an emotional roller coaster. I was angry, I was happy, I raged, I cried. Ugh, this book is so good. And yeah, it definitely made me emotional. Prompt number 11 is a book that made me happy. And thankfully, there's a lot of books that made me happy this year. But one in particular that stood out to me is Dealing with Dragons by Patricia Weird. Now, this book was recommended to me by Seajar, who is just an awesome supporter of mine. Seajar always recommends the best books, and this one is no different. I read this book very early on in the year, back in January, and it's just so cute and so adorable. It's one of those books that like you just can't help like smiling while you read it. It's such like a feel-good book. It's about a young girl who like is being trained to be this proper princess, but she doesn't want to be a proper princess. So she gets herself kidnapped by a dragon and basically becomes this dragon's like administrative assistant. Like, that's not what they call it, but that's basically what she's doing. And she learns how to do all these like kind of witchy stuff, and like there's dragons, there's witches, there's knights, there's just so much to like in this little book. It is a middle grade adventure, so it's meant for younger readers, but like I said, I enjoyed it. It made me happy. That's why, even though I'm 40 years old, I still read middle grade, and this is exactly why. Because these type of books are lighthearted and fun, and they make me happy. Prompt number 12 is most beautiful book that you've acquired this year. And I have been very lucky that I've gotten a lot of beautiful books this year, mostly through my Owl Crate subscription. So it was really hard to pick just one. But the one I want to feature today is going to be The Last Blood Carver by Vanessa Lee. And yeah, so on its own, there's a little bit of a glare. You can see it's got a really cool, beautiful cover, but it's the stenciled edges that really do it for me. Because as you can see on the cover, there is this heart that literally looks like the organ of a heart. And that heart is also stenciled on the edges of the book, which I think is super cool because I feel like with stenciled edges, you get a lot of like flowers and like nice stuff. And I just think it's really cool to have like a bloody heart just stenciled on the edge of this book. I think that's really funny. So also, this book comes with its own little fabric bookmark. And of course, let's talk about the inside of the book. First, we have the inside cover, which is just gorgeously illustrated. We also have the hard case, which is black, but with this shiny red foiling. It's on the front and the back, which is, again, absolutely gorgeous. And as if that wasn't enough, we also have a reversible dust jacket, which again is also beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful all around. So to me, this is one of the most beautiful books that I've gotten this year. Prompt number 13 is, which books do you want to read before the end of the year? And I have so many, but in the interest of time, I have narrowed it down to 5 for this video. So, number 1, Beartown by Frederick Bachman. I've read 2 Frederick Bachman books so far. I've loved them both. This is the only other Frederick Bachman book I have at the moment, so I really, really want to read it because I haven't read a Bachman book this year, and I've kind of been doing one a year. I also want to read Imprudence by Gail Carringer. This is the second book in her Custard Protocol series. The first book was Prudence. This is the second one, Imprudence. I love Gail Carringer. She's one of my favorite authors of all time. She writes steampunk fantasy, which is just super fun, and I've been really wanting to read and continue with this series. I am definitely reading this book this year, and that is My Best Friend's Exorcism by Grady Hendrix. I've never read a Grady Hendrix book before, but I've heard a lot of good things about this one. Specifically, E.D. Lewis, when I watched his review on this, it really made me want to read this one. So yes, I'm calling it now. I'm putting this on my TBR for October because it's Halloween and it's kind of a Halloween-y book. It's got Stranger Things type of vibes. So really looking forward to reading this in October. Another book that I heard someone review recently that has convinced me to read it is Gideon the Ninth by Tamsin Muir. Kirsten over at Reading Nymph, she read this one this year. Her review makes me absolutely want to read this. She had great things to say about it. So I don't know what month I'm going to get to it, but I definitely want to try to get to it before the end of the year. And finally, The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, because I feel like I'm the only person that hasn't read this one yet, and I really want to read it. Not only that, I've never read a V.E. Schwab book, so I feel like I need to get on this hype train. It's been way too long, and I don't know what I'm waiting for other than I literally just have not found the time. Okay, I think that was 5, so let me move on to the last prompt, which is favorite BookTube community member. And I'm not going to answer this one because if you are a member of the BookTube community, you are my favorite. I love all of you. I love all of you equally. I can't pick favorites. It's not something I want to do right now because you're all wonderful and you're all amazing. So that is it for me today. If you haven't done this tag yet, like me, for some reason, although I think most people have, feel free to do it. Tag me. Let me know your answers. But other than that, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you're not already, please subscribe to my channel for more bookish stuff coming your way soon. All right, everyone. Happy reading.